Hey everybody, my name is Trappy Jenkins, and I'm here to welcome you to the titular episode of the Film Chronicle. I'm joined here by my buddy Nate, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the show.
Hey guys, I'm Nate, and we're going to be here each week to talk about movie headlines, the newest trailers, and examine the weekly box office as well. So let's just jump right into it. Our first couple of headlines actually come from the Star Wars universe. Disney has unveiled the logo and the name of the next installment of the Star Wars saga, which will be directed by the talented Rian Johnson, which has actually created quite the stir online, and a lot of fans have a bunch of theories on what this actually means. What are your thoughts on the logo, and what are maybe some of your theories on what this logo actually means?
I think the biggest part of this is the shift from yellow to red text. Mm-hmm. They only do that for a couple other movies, and it usually has like really heavy connotations. Now, they call him the Last Jedi in the movie. Snoke refers to him as Last Jedi. They call him the Last Jedi in the crawl. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a red herring and they want us to believe that Luke dies in this one, just because that's what kind of expected in the hero's journey. You kind of have to lose the main character. But it seems like too direct. Rian Johnson, I think he said he wants to go a different direction, and everyone is expecting kind of an Empire Strikes Back sort of story. And he said, no, man, I just want to do my own thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, too. And it kind of has that double meaning, because if Luke does die, does that mean Rey takes over the title of The Last Jedi?
Yeah, it seems all really obvious, but what if they like made a twist on that? So what if instead of Rey becoming the Last Jedi, Rey falls to the dark side, and Kylo actually succumbs to the call of the light, as he calls it, and he makes the switch to the other side.
But she's still jaded too, you know what I mean? Similar to the Darth Vader, is she's still mad at her parents for leaving her ass in Tatooine, you know what I mean? So
that's true.
Will she be misguided? Or go to the dark side?
Maybe Snoke is kind of playing that in his back pocket, and he'll set up a confrontation where she'll be forced to kill Kylo Ren. And then Snoke will be like, all right, either Kylo Ren wins and he becomes more powerful, or she wins and then she falls to the dark side, and then I have this new apprentice who wants to learn everything from me. I think that would be really cool if they do end up going like more the dark side route with Rey's character. And so a real villain that you like are actually invested in because you've been cheering for them the whole series. They're going to make this for the long run. So why not set up a storyline that can continue like 30 years later? You know what I mean?
Fuck with everyone's emotions, right? So what do you guys think? Do you agree with Trap? Do you think Rey might go to the dark side? Or do you have your own theory? Let us know down below. Comment. We'd love to hear from you. And then with that being said, our second story has to do with the new Han Solo movie, which has started filming, which will be directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. They're from the Lego movie and 21 Jump Street fame. So what do you think, Trap? Are you excited for the Han Solo movie, or are you not too excited?
It's really a delicate situation that Alden Ehrenreich, I believe his name is, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Han Solo is a very beloved character. Like, The Force Awakens had kind of a controversial ending with the way they dealt with Han Solo.
Right.
And so it's on careful ground, I think. Alden Ehrenreich doesn't really have a lot of films, and it's big shoes to fill on his part.
His last two movies were Rules Don't Apply from Warren Beatty and then Hail Caesar with the Coen brothers. So he hasn't really had that major standout role yet. And maybe it's good for Disney to kind of go that route with, like you said, such an iconic role with Han Solo, to kind of get a nobody in there. Mm-hmm. And then plus, you know, it looks like they're bringing talent around him. They have Woody Harrelson, who will be in this, along with Donald Glover, who I love. Amazing talent, absolute genius.
Donald Glover, I love him. He's super funny. He's always on point with his comedy, and he can really embody the role of Lando. I hope beyond hope, that he grows that porn star mustache, because I think that would look great on him.
Yeah, right. And then Emilia Clarke, the Queen of Dragons, actually has an unidentified role in this movie as well.
Damn. Game of Thrones is getting lots of people work. You can tell that the cinematic focus of the show is really good. The only thing that worries me is I hope they don't turn out like... Who was the girl who was in Terminator Genesis?
Yeah, that was Emilia Clarke.
Oh, yeah.
So it's funny you bring that up, right? Well, it's funny you bring that up is because a lot of people hated her in that movie. And just to play devil's advocate, everyone kind of sucked in that movie anyway, so maybe it wasn't her fault, so we shall see. You know, personally, with the Han Solo movie, as long as they put Boba Fett in it, I think I'm going to be happy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly feel like a Boba Fett movie kind of would have served their purpose a bit more because he's not as fleshed out a character from the movie standpoint. In the books, there's a lot of canon around him, and they've done a lot more in like Rebels and the Clone Wars, but he is a character that I think people want to see more of, but their view of him isn't quite as strong as, say, Han Solo, who people very much love and appreciate.
It goes back to the points you made is how iconic he is and loved by the fans. So big shoes to fill. Really excited, especially what Disney's doing with the rest of the Star Wars movies. So we shall see in 2018 on how good this Han Solo movie will actually be.
It is Disney, so I do trust them to like put out a quality product, unlike the company that we're going to talk about in our next segment.
And well, with that being said, that brings us to our next story, which does come out of the DC universe. Ben Affleck will not be directing the next Batman movie. He will still write the screenplay, be a producer, and play the iconic role. But what does this mean for the Batman universe? And what does this mean for DC in general? Do you think there's trouble in Paradise, Trap?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a stretch to call it paradise in the first place, right? They released this giant, ambitious slate of movies, and it's crumbling like a house of cards. It was it 2 weeks ago? It had to be less that Ben Affleck looked directly in the camera and said, I am directing the next Batman movie.
I'm going to direct the next Batman. We're working on it. That's what I
wonder what was said behind closed doors with the WB execs. What caused this all of a sudden change to not direct?
The way I was thinking about it, it's easy to get sucked into they're doing the meddling thing again. But you can look at this from a different perspective. Batman, the job, like being Batman, is a very physically demanding job. You have to be in really good shape to act as Batman, and the way Ben Affleck is portraying it, he needs to be in a certain emotional state to do that. He's also writing and producing the movie. So that's a lot to do. And then he's got all this director stuff coming up, like, all right, you got to start picking sets out, you got to start casting other people. Like, that's a lot of responsibility. And it's not like somebody's going to come in and say, no, Ben, you stay in front of the camera. Don't tell me what you think. Like, you have an award-winning director. You're going to be like, all right, what do you think about the shot? What can we do this? Basically, if you look at the quote, he says, we're looking for a co-director. So he wants someone who's going to do, like, the day-to-day busy work, and then the important stuff, making sure the tone's right and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a bit more control over. But that just brings up the question, who do they bring in? You know a lot more directors than me. Who would you like to see fill in this role?
Personally, I would like to see David Fincher do a Batman movie. He has such a unique visual style that is gritty and mysterious with movies like Fight Club and Seven. I think he could really push the boundaries in the Batman universe. Most likely, it probably wouldn't happen, but it would be awesome to think about. So, but what do you guys think? Who would you like to see direct the new Batman movie? Let us know down below, and or hit us on Twitter, and we'll talk about it some more. That kind of brings us to our next story. More disheartening news from the DC universe. Flash is getting a page 1 rewrite and have hired Joby Harold to write the screenplay, which is actually quite interesting choice because right now he's got 2 big movies coming up, the King Arthur movie, and then next year will be the Robin Hood movie. But they still have no director. So what does this really mean for the DC universe, and what does it mean for the Flash movie in general? What do you think, Trap?
This is another one I'm going to kind of shine a positive light on. This is way different than what they did with David Ayer. Does that make sense? Yes. Like, they made him write it in 66 days. Now, this still definitely reeks of executive meddling, but they realize that they can't just crap something out anymore. They can't be reactionary. They have to make sure they have a good, solid story, but also someone who's willing to kind of work with what their expectations are. Obviously, that's not looking like a small-time director now, because this is what, their third director, their fourth director?
That brings up another good point, too, with Ezra Miller. He's about to start filming the sequel to Fantastic Beasts. So it's a matter of, now they got to wait for him to be finished with that movie before they can even start filming The Flash. And they're going to have a script or a director. And it's pretty interesting because DC, remember when they released that list of DC movies that will be all the way up to 2020, I believe? Flash and Aquaman were supposed to come out in 2018.
It's like slashing them out one by one. Well, Aquaman, fortunately, has begun production. I think Jason Momoa is going to be badass in the role. But you know who they've had just on the bench for a long time? The Rock. Yes. And they talked about recently they want to have Black Adam and Shazam be two separate movies, which I think is cool because The Rock is a really popular character, and it'd be interesting to kind of set him up as an anti-hero, kind of like Vegeta from Dragon Ball, where they kick his ass in the beginning, and then he like begrudgingly agrees to save the world because he kind of has to live there for a while. Does that make sense?
No, most definitely. And then it would be a fresh take on doing an origin story for a villain. I think ideas like that is what is going to help DC succeed in their movie universe. You know what I mean? Like, focus on compelling characters and tell a great story, make a great movie, and then worry about building the universe off of things like that.
And because they're telling a Black Adam story, they also have to tell it partially in the past, which I think is really interesting because it'll force them to make it be kind of a self-contained sort of movie. I think that's also going to benefit Wonder Woman too, because it's more of a period piece, so it'll let us get invested in Wonder Woman as the first female superhero.
Instead of trying to do what they did with Batman versus Superman, of just cram people in, and then they're already pushing the death of Superman comic. So it's kind of like, is Zack Snyder just flipping through comics and being like, oh, you know what, that looks cool, I'm going to put that in the movie. And then, you know, Wonder Woman's looking on the internet, at World Star, and seeing Aquaman and Flash do crazy shit. It's like, what's going on there, man? You know what I mean?
Literally the worst way to have, like, universe integration. Like, oh, just look at this video of this character.
Yeah.
Why?
So bad. So bad.
But I think Wonder Woman and, to a lesser degree, the Justice League movies are really going to determine what DC does in the future because they're really banking on Wonder Woman being popular, but Patty Jenkins hasn't directed anything big like this. No. I mean, it looks good in a trailer, but they've shown time and again that they can make a good-looking trailer.
DC
like, it's not about that.
Can they make a good movie, though? So what do you guys think about this whole Flash movie situation? Do you think they'll be able to make it in time for 2018? Or will we even see a Flash movie? Or maybe you just want to rant about the shitstorm DC and WB have been creating. Just leave us a comment or send us...
Or maybe you want to tell us you're wrong. Maybe you think DC's on point and we're just assholes, which is entirely possible also.
We are open-minded to all points of view. Let us know down below and we'll definitely get back to you. Now for our trailer segment. The newest trailer that came out last week is Guy Ritchie's new movie, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. And it's starring Charlie Hunnam and Jude Law. What do you think, Trap? Are you excited for the new retelling of the King Arthur?
The more I watch trailers, the more I realize I hate trailers. They're cut so poorly. They go so fast in between everything. They try to tell you the whole story, and they're really jumpy. And I think that's what kind of put me off, especially about the start of this trailer, is the over-the-shoulder, like, running camera. And I was just like, oh no, are they going to do the Jason Bourne, like, every time there's action on camera, it's going to be shaky? Like, that's not something I'm big about.
No, I'm not a big fan of the shaky cam either. But from what I saw, at least for the first half of that trailer, it reminded me of a Guy Ritchie movie like Snatch. It seemed like it had clever and witty dialogue with that stylish editing known for Guy Ritchie movies. They are definitely going full force on the fantasy route on this movie. Almost reminds me of the video game Dark Souls a bit.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely see that.
The only thing that seemed kind of odd to me was King Arthur seems way out of place. It looks like he's got a bathrobe and red leather pants. I don't know how that's really going to translate on the big screen.
Well, I mean, it's like you said, they're trying to make him stand out. And there's a lot to stand out from in this trailer. There's magic, there's armies, there's giant monsters, there's bitches and trees. So, like, I can understand them wanting to, like, have him be kind of distinct. What really throws me out of it is the Conor McGregor haircut. Like, I think that's going to most age the movie. When you watch it later on, you should be like, oh, man, what were they thinking when they decided to go with this outfit? But other than that, like, there's a lot about this trailer that gets me very excited, especially, like, the big action scenes. It's like you said, they're going a much more fantasy route. But it seems like this movie's kind of taking a lot of influences from Game of Thrones as well as Spartacus. Gritty, dirty feeling world and the bluish tint.
I agree. Hopefully it can do Game of Thrones justice, especially with last season with the battle scene they showed probably one of the best battle scenes I've seen on screen ever. So if they can take what's good about Game of Thrones and translate it to the big screen, they can pull this off.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll probably go see it if you say it's really good. But other than that, I'll probably just wait and see.
Fair enough. And what we'll do is we'll put the trailer in the description, so if anyone wants to watch it, take a look and let us know in the comments. Are you excited to see Guy Ritchie's new movie, the retelling of King Arthur? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. That about wraps it up. My name is Trap. This here's my buddy Nate, and we hope to hear from you all soon. Have a good night.